What up, fellow football fans, and welcome back to another edition of the ONETA Football Show, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, I'm your host, Evan Davies, and you are in this makeshift office of mine. It is my last and final recording from my home in Philadelphia, as I'm going back to my homeland, the greatest state in the Union, the great state of Wisconsin. But we have more to talk about than my move today, so let's get right into it. We're going into a bunch of different topics that are revolving around training camp issues right now, or some larger issues in the NFL today. Without further ado, let's go. Now, for our video watchers, first topic of the day, it's Jordan Love, franchise quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. At least that is the belief. I am one of those people that believes that. He is the future of the Green Bay Packers. Currently speaking, Jordan has decided through his representation that he will not be practicing in training camp until he has a new contract. Very, very logical decision to make. If you're a pro player, this is a decision that you will vastly agree with for the most part. He's doing the now popularized hold-in method, in which he's still attending practice, he's still going to meetings. However, he is not physically doing anything on the field because he has no guarantee past this year. He knows he is worth far more, contractually speaking, than what he is on the books for this year. So although he is still in attendance with everybody, he is still ready to go in Green Bay. He does not inherently have any physical activity during practice. I personally have no issue with this, although my personal opinion on this doesn't matter outside of the people who listen to the show. What I do appreciate of it is the fact that this is yet another olive branch of showing the maturity and the growth of Jordan Love with the aspects of a modern player put into it. A lot of old school fans would just say, oh, he should be practicing. He's making millions of dollars. Who cares? When you have generational wealth on the line and you go out and you play the back half of the season you do, and you know you're going to make at least 3 to 4 plus years of $50+ million a year, it's going to change generations of your family's wealth. No, you don't go do that. You sit and you wait and you force them to make the decision they need to make. Now, it does seem as though Green Bay and Jordan are in a good place. They're figuring out what they want to do. I would not be shocked if by the end of the week, which as of recording is 2 days from now, I guess, if a deal is done, I can't see them going further into next week out a deal. Having said that, we'll see how it goes. You never know how contract negotiations. But again, it shows a maturity to Jordan in which he understands that beyond the fact that I'm a biased Packer fan, I really would say this about Jordan or anyone doing this approach. They understand that although they have a personal responsibility to themselves and their family to make the most money they possibly can, which is the American way and the American dream, frankly, they are still understanding that they are being responsible to their team by still being in attendance and showing, hey guys, I'm invested. I'm here. I want to be here. And with that, they also have the understanding in which I'm the franchise quarterback. I have to still show I'm responsible and I care. So he's treating the franchise well by doing this, while treating himself well and his team well. There's not a much better way to do this. He's only said positive things. He's done none of the traditional, barking, so to speak, of, oh, I need a new contract and I'm not showing up or anything like that. He's not doing that. And it shows the growth and maturity and learning from the past mistakes of former quarterbacks in Green Bay, where Favre just didn't show up until training camp. He always came to training camp. Can't say he didn't, but he didn't do anything unless it was mandatory by the end of it. Whereas Aaron, we're seeing Aaron Rodgers now doing this with the Jets. And it seems more as though the Jets bungled it the more details you get, in which Yes, Aaron skipped mandatory things, which I do. However, if you had all these different OTAs set up and the vast majority were non-mandatory, and if you have the information, why not just avoid the issue entirely and just move the mandatory dates to which franchise quarterback who you know is going to do his own thing? It's more so just, although many people would say, well, it's unfair treatment that Aaron Rodgers gets. Sure, that's what happens with a franchise quarterback in the NFL. It's more so figure it out. And if you want to hear more about that, you can go check the last 2 weeks podcast ago. We talked a lot about the drama with the Jets because they have no idea what the fuck they're doing, clearly. However, on the Jordan Love topic, you're seeing the mistakes of the past not being repeated and being learned from. I really, really appreciate that. It's something that I hope continues in the NFL because it allows for people to talk maturely, understand we need to meet each other in the middle, find the common ground that we can, while still showing we love and care and respect for each other. It's a business at the end of the day, but we need to show care and respect for the other party. Otherwise, we're not going to get anything done, which is a big topic of today's show, Frank. Now, on the other hand, we have a similar situation. In Dallas, we have 2 players up for contracts that are handling it in very, very different ways. You have CeeDee Lamb, their star wide receiver. And you have Micah Parsons, which is arguably the best defensive player in all of football. He's definitely top 3, if not, he's obviously a top 5, definitely a top 3 in my opinion. In my opinion, he's probably the best playmaker on the defensive side of the ball. People may argue, J.J. Watt, Myles Garrett could be in that conversation, but I don't think anyone's as good as Mike Parsons down to down. So, just my opinion here. But we have CeeDee Lamb, who's decided he will not practice. He's not going to practice whatsoever. And he's not even expected to report. Whereas, there's a good possibility he's going to do the classic, I ain't coming. Which, sure. Whereas Micah Parsons, from the latest reports that I have seen, is going to practice and is going to play out his deal right now. Which is a bold move. Now let's break those 2 down. CeeDee Lamb is going the classic route. I don't get paid, I don't show up. He is still on a rookie deal, so a lot of those fines are going to be waived in some way, shape, or form today. Or they'll be padded into the contract to say, hey, I ain't paying those fees. It's a bold move with a franchise that currently has franchise quarterback that's about a $60 million cap hit because of the stupidity of the contract that they set up with Dak Prescott before. Good on Dak for getting that contract. But you have that, and you have an owner who's claiming all in means it's all about this year, seemingly. And he truly could pull the trigger on, I'm going to blow this team up if they do not perform to where I want them to be, which means Super Bowl or bust, Dallas. So to just say, all right, fine, I'm going to call your bluff. I'm not coming. It's a bold move with a Jerry Jones-led team. Because Jerry Jones does business his way. Some people could say it's right. Some people could say it's wrong. As an owner advancing their team, you have to give the man credit. He did the best he possibly could every time to further the impact and the importance of the Dallas Cowboys. However, from a team building perspective, a lot of people are going to think, no idea what he's doing. And the past couple 5-6 years, we've seen it's gotten better there as they've involved more people. But he's still heavily involved and he's still the general manager. But having said all that, I mean, damn. Do you want to call that bluff right now with an old man who's dying to get a Super Bowl and he just says, fine, if you don't want to come, I ain't going to pay you? Now, it's a bold move. I personally would, just being me as a non-confrontational person with negotiating tactics, I would probably do the hold in and just say, hey, I'm showing up to show you I'm listening, I'm caring, I'm learning. but I'm not going to practice until I have the guarantee of my family's security. Which is fair. He's doing the classic holdout, which, maybe he reports today or tomorrow when they get to Oxnard. Maybe he doesn't. But it's a bold fucking move, and there's a part of me that really, really respects it. Because, do you really want to get to the point in which you want to test a crazy old man? I sure as hell wouldn't. But that's just me. And meanwhile, we have Micah Parsons on the other hand. From all reports that I am seeing right now, and I'm going to do one little quick just to make sure that no problems are going to happen with this one, is he's going to report from all intents and purposes. That he's not only going to report, he's going to practice. Now, Micah Parsons just became eligible for his deal. CeeDee Lamb is in his contract extension, or his not his contract extension. He's in his option year. That's your 5th-year option on your rookie contracts. So he's eligible to be paid. And he was eligible to be paid last year. Now he's certainly eligible to be paid, and he needs to get paid. So he don't have a lot of contractual control over CD. Meanwhile, Micah Parsons, you do have an extra year before you get there. CD was the year before Micah Parsons. But you now have a three-headed monster in which you have a quarterback who's a $60 million pay hit. Okay? You then have CeeDee Lamb, who says, I ain't coming until I get paid. And he's going to request around the $30 million mark. He's going to want Justin Jefferson. No one, in my opinion, is worth Justin Jefferson, except Justin Jefferson. But he's going to request around $30 million because that's what the market dictates. Then you have Micah Parsons, who is going to be the good soldier, who's going to show up, who's going to practice, who's going to do all these things. And if history's going to teach us anything, it's that those guys, somehow, some way, always get hurt or something happens to them. Obviously, that is not what I want. Football is better when Micah Parsons is in the field. Even though I do not like the Cowboys, and everybody generally around the NFL and fans hates the Cowboys. Good fucking reason. It's a bold move to see somebody do something like that. Show that level of commitment to the team. It's something impressive, but Jesus fucking Christ. It's when you're going to command a $30 million plus year contract for at least 3, if not 5 years of the life. Not something I would risk. I wouldn't risk an ACL tear or an Achilles tear or any freak accident to occur. I wouldn't be doing that. Now, a lot of old school fans are going to say, "Oh, that's great, that's great, that's great." Sure, it is. Unless the worst happens. It's obviously not what anyone is rooting for, and if they are, that's pretty fucked up. But you have a three-headed monster of pay that's going to completely destroy the Dallas Cowboys. And you're going to see that reflected in the next couple weeks when we start the NFL expansion series here on the show, which I'm in the process of putting all the graphics together and putting all that things together. We're going to have a couple guest hosts with us as well to help us with that NFL expansion project. So it's going to be really fun. But you're going to see the dire straits the Dallas Cowboys are in financially. And how next year it's literally, unless everyone takes really friendly deals to the team, that team is not going to be there. And I don't want to see it happen. So you have 3 players that need to get paid. Now, probably 2 of them are going to get paid. One's going to have to go. Which one's going to go? You all have 3 different aspects. You have quarterback in the last year of his deal where he's just going to do it and prove it because maybe he's going to test the open market. He's going to push that money up to try to get $60 million plus a year. Dak Prescott worth that? In my opinion, no, but That's what the market is in the NFL. You have CeeDee Lamb who says, I'm not even going to show up until I get paid. And you have Michael Parsons, I'll show up, I'll do it, and I'll risk injury. Okay. It's a very interesting monster when you look at the Dallas Cowboys. And fun indeed, but that's what happens with, they put the fun in dysfunctional, so to speak. But that's where we are. Now, moving on here, folks. It seems a lot of dysfunction in Dallas with the front office of what's going to go on in the future. We're also seeing a lot of fun dysfunction, or just dysfunction might not be the word for it, but we're in Hard Knocks season now, the off season with the New York Giants on Max, HBO original show, and I will say I'm enjoying this season of Hard Knocks. I just caught up on it yesterday. I'm, again, in the process of a move, so a lot of life is passing me by as I'm flying back and forth between the Midwest and the East Coast and things over. It's been really, really interesting and really enjoyable to watch a front office work. Even in a limited capacity that Hard Knocks can give you, because you learn and you grow and you do things. However, obviously the big drama is, they did Saquon dirty. I don't necessarily think that's inherently true, but body language experts and everything else are going to say Joe Shane never wanted him in the first place. I can understand that. But it's very interesting to watch this off-season aspect of the Hard Knocks show, in which they're going into the GM rooms. They're going into the draft rooms all the time. They're talking to the scouts. They're not just doing this, we're going to talk to the coaches. We're going to talk to the players. We're going to highlight a few players throughout, training camp with some interesting stories. And they're not doing that anymore. They're doing hey, this is the off-season for us. This is how things happen. Really interesting to see how they're coming to these decisions. Appreciate that. And it's very fun to be doing the expansion series, because as a part of NFL expansion, new teams would be new expansion drafts. So I have literally combed over the entire salary cap for every team at this point, getting ready for that show, or that series of shows, I should say. So it's incredibly interesting to watch GMs work and what their middle points are, how business is done. But when you're watching the show and you're seeing a GM both do the right thing by allowing Saquon Barkley to test the market, but at the same time, all of his body language is extremely non-committal, and his tone of voice is very non-committal, and you see that throughout all the GMs in the NFL right now. Is they're always talking vague terms. It's always generalized things. They're not going into a lot of specifics until they absolutely have to. And I get it, that's part of the nature of the job, but at the same time, it's also goddamn. Okay. It's extremely interesting to watch, and you're seeing the dichotomy of how an owner impacts their team with John Mara's consistent presence. How the GM is really the focus of the New York Giants organization. He's the one driving the ship, it seems. And now that could be tailored because of the way they're telling the story off season. However, it does not feel like Brian Daboll runs that ship. Now, he runs the team. I'm not disputing he has no control over the team. He absolutely does. This is no shade to Brian Daboll, but you can tell that this is a GM first team. This is not a coach first team. He's very much, they're trying to be collaborative as much as possible, but this is a GM run team. Bottom down. We're talking to Joe Shane, and Joe Shane's the one making the decisions. So it's incredibly interesting to watch and see how the business is being done. The Barkley trade, or the Barkley free agency, is a bit of a rough one to watch, because you're seeing where does the player end and where's the commodity begin? Where does when free agents come into play, where does the human being being paid, and where does he's an independent contractor that we don't have to pay comes into play? It's a very interesting dichotomy. And I absolutely loved this newest episode, which is as of recording episode 4, in which it was going over all the draft scenarios. Very much because you're talking to people and you're seeing their scouts places, you're seeing what they're doing. You have a lot more insight as a team to say, oh, they're going for this, that. It was very interesting seeing how they were going to do all that. And it was very interesting to finally see some of the, at least snippets of the interactions you see on top 30 visits throughout the draft process, how you see scouting community come together, how you see little aspects. So the human interaction very much has me interested. But if you are someone who wants to learn a little bit more about being a GM or how does that work past your Madden experience running a franchise, which this is getting me excited to possibly go buy the new Madden or buy NCAA 25, just so I can at least kind of run a team again for funsies, even though I couldn't care less. I know it's not real. It'd be fun to just do as an experiment. I can see where this can be extremely beneficial to understand. The other thing that was so fun was the human interactions of we're seeing conversationally, they have more information, they have more experience. So inherently, NFL offices are better at doing this than a podcaster that has an intro or talking head on ESPN or FS1. However, it was really interesting to see a breakdown of, well, we're going to go quarterback if we can. And then they go through the last 10 years of quarterback drafts and seeing how many were a hit and how many were a failure. And that was just a basic conversation I've had multiple times with some of our future co-hosts, with some other people in life that are big football fans, is how often base topics come up and then you're like, oh shit. And then it makes you feel like, well, I could do this. They're doing the same conversations that I'm having, you know? And it's just very interesting to see how different things are than what you'd expect, but then also how similar they are to your normal actions. It's kind of crazy. A very interesting dichotomy of how things are working in the NFL right now, at least in the. That said, what are you going to now? Get another topic in here going. We're just pinballing from place to place today, and that's okay. It's kind of a smattering of a show today. But we're talking dysfunction. I don't think there's dysfunction in San Francisco, but it's some wild times. Now, our viewers on YouTube are going to be able to see Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver. He's reported to camp. However, he's requested a trade. Now, San Francisco, they don't fuck around. Okay? They had Jimmy Garoppolo when they didn't even want him on the team. They just had him practice on another field. They didn't give a fuck about appearances. They just said goodbye. And then he played for him that year. So it was insane to see what was going on. That was fucking wild. So San Francisco's already proven they don't give a shit. They're going to run the team they want to run. It's interesting to see Ayuk reported, but you're having an issue. It's the reason I put this after the Hard Knock segment was when you're looking at how the GMs are running things, how money really impacts the constructions of kind of stuff. Because you saw a lot of dollar figures in these last episodes of Hard Knocks, how the business is run in the NFL. When you have a player like Brandon Ayuk, who's looking for a big money deal, because he's now eligible for a big money, he feels he deserves it. He's a very versatile, successful player. He's an active blocker. He has one of the best success rates in the NFL in terms of touchdowns, yards per catch, all that. He's in the top categories of all that when he's playing. Granted, he's in San Francisco, but that eventually, if we're going to talk about the great players in San Francisco, eventually we're going to have to say, well, that means the players are good too. As much as I've shit on Brock Purdy, because I don't believe Brock Purdy's that good of a quarterback, He executes an offense and he does well with that team. Well, if he does well with that team, it's probably because that team's fucking great. And Brandon Ayuk is a quality player on that team who deserves to be paid. But it's very interesting to see how that's affecting one team in the Giants that's not ready for prime time yet. Whereas San Francisco, they've made multiple Super Bowls with this style of team. They're going forward with this team no matter what in their image that they've created. So it's very interesting dynamic to see the differences where Brandon Ayuk, he's reported to camp because he knows kind of has to play ball. He's in San Francisco. But the most important part is when we factor in money for the future. You look at what's happening in San Francisco. Next year, Brock Purdy's eligible for a contract. Brock's going to get a contract with the San Francisco 49ers unless something catastrophic happens. Purdy's going to get that deal. The second you start paying closer to market money for that quarterback is the second that team implodes with the star-studded lineup that they have. And I'm not saying they're going to suck. I'm not saying results-wise, magically, you pay Brock Purdy and the 49ers are going to. Not what I mean. What I mean is, can you keep both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel? Probably not. Okay. Maybe let's say, no, we want them both and we can pay them both somehow. Okay, let's go through that hypothetical. Can you then keep George Kittle? It's a lot of money to put into 3 players that are pass catchers on your offense. Can you pay Trent Williams still? Or are you just hoping he retires eventually? Financially speaking, not play-wise. You still have Nick Bosa on the other side. You have Fred Warner. You have all of these guys that need to get paid. Dre Greenlaw is going to need to get paid again eventually. Like, all these guys are trying to get paid. Tarvarius Ward is still a part of your secondary and is a good player who's going to need to get paid again. Ufunga is eventually going to need to get paid. All these guys are being paid now because you're not paying a quarterback. So is Brandon Ayuk going to be the first domino to eventually go because they can't pay him because they need to pay a quarterback? Or are we going to see the collapse of the other stars on that team because we need to go with the youthful receiver who has less mileage on him as compared to Kittle or Samuel? And are we going to see other players on this team have to go by the wayside because we can't pay them? But that is coming. This is the year. This has to be the year, financially speaking, for them. Otherwise, it's not going to work out for them. So it's a very interesting dichotomy to see what's happening. And that's why I followed this one with Hard Knocks, because you're seeing the financial implications on a team the second they start paying quarterback. You're seeing it in New York as to why their hesitancy was. They didn't have that. If they didn't have that big commitment to Daniel Jones, you don't think they would have traded up higher to go get their quarterback? I certainly believe they would have. You don't think they would have traded up to go get Drake May if they really believed in Drake May and they didn't have the commitment to Daniel Jones? My mind, they would have done that. All the images, all the video that they showed with Drake May, with the owner, even with Joe Shane, we don't want to get crazy here, but if it's a deal, it's like, all that tells me is they were going to go get a quarterback if they could have, but they had a commitment, so they didn't want to go full commitment to another quarterback already. Now you're seeing in San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk speaks to a bigger problem in San Francisco than, Ayuk needs to get paid. Nope. That's not the real issue. The real issue is, okay, if we pay Brandon Ayuk, what do we lose right after this season? And it could be a lot. So it's fun times, and watch for more craziness in San Francisco. Now, to end the show, we just have a few little interesting topics and tidbits to keep in mind. Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was sent home with an illness. I personally have not seen any big updates about Lamar yet. Now, I'm going to double check that right now, just in case. Beyond the fact that, all right, he did just return to practice today, which is great. as of recording, which is Wednesday. So he did return to practice, but it's very interesting to see, player illness come into effect. That's good treatment of a player. A, I really appreciate that from Baltimore. And B, it's just something to note and watch as we move forward. We're seeing a lot better balancing of day-to-day injury and illness than we've seen in the past. So that's A, that's a good note for the NFL, and B, that's a great note for teams. But the most positive thing is we're seeing players being taken care of a little bit more in those aspects, which is phenomenal. So A, that's great, but B, that also shows keep an eye out for little things like that to affect your team moving forward as you go through the training camp process for whatever fan of the team you are. Finally, the big news that I don't think anyone really is ready for in terms of the big time conversation is an 18-game season's on the horizon here, folks. Now, this is Lloyd Howell, president of the NFL Players Association, or director, I should say, not president, director. Washington Post today came out that the discussions are now getting into the informal stage. They're not just the idea phase, it's the informal phase. So there's the conjecture phase of what if we did this? It starts spreading. Then you get to the informal phase where you have to start talking about things where you're like, well, what if happens? Well, it's not serious yet, so we don't really need a plan, but we should probably start formulating a plan. That's the informal stage. We've entered that with the 18 games. And then we're eventually going to get to the formal stage in probably a year or two's time in which the NFLPA is going to have to sit down at the table and have a plan for an 18. If Roger Goodell is saying it, he's already mentioned 18-game seasons multiple times. That means that's what the owners want. They want to go to the 18-game season. It's going to impact the bottom line. What I liked about what Lloyd Howell said, because there is a lot of meandering in the Washington Post article, if you want to go read it, in which, we got to talk about the finances. We need to talk about the player safety impact. And we need to talk about this and this and this. He kind of talks in a circular way a lot. And the way I read it is he's trying to give some tangible responses to it. However, it's so informal at this moment that he can't really speak tangibly. So he kind of just starts talking in circles and repeating himself. But it's something that you need to be ready for in the horizon, football fan. We're getting an 18-game. Now, I have an answer to go back to a 16-game season. If you want to know about it, watch the next couple shows when we start the expansion draft process. However, without that shameless plug there, the 18-game season's on the horizon. And the most important thing to see as a fan, going to be beyond the fact, oh, more football, yay, is we have a Sunday NFL ticket lawsuit. How is that going to impact scheduling? How is an 18-game season going to impact the way we see play? Are we going to get extra bye weeks? Are we going to see some of our favorite players start getting rest periods like the NBA, which could be crazy, but you never know? Are we going to see rosters expand? Or are we going to see more players have the opportunity to play on an active roster? What's that all going to look like? It's all going to happen very, very soon here on the NFL calendar. In the next year or two, believe it, you are going to start seeing that big, big topic coming up a lot. So be prepared for it. It could be very interesting and very good as a fan, or it could be really bad. You never know. Pay attention to it as it's going along. Now, another thing I need you guys to pay attention to as we meander our way through this show is everyone's going to need support this day and age. If you want to support this show, head on over to our Etsy shop. Go to ptecreative.etsy.com and you can get yourself some really cool merch. We got a bunch of stuff over on Etsy that you can look through with all the things that revolve around the topics that we talk about on all of our podcasts and all of our. We got a lot of Pokemon merch. We got a lot of Wisconsin Packer merch. We got our Philly dumpster fire sticker to really shit on the Philadelphia Eagles, as everyone should. We got a lot of fun stuff for any fan of pretty much any genre of what you can see. We got clothing in terms of hats, hoodies, t-shirts, stickers. We got Pokemon card packs. We got all kinds of stuff over at ptecreative.etsy.com. Go get yourself some merch and support the channel any way you possibly can. Now, you may be saying to yourself, hey, I'd love to support you, but I'm here for the content. I can't add those couple shekels. And you know what? I understand if you got no couple shekels, spread out. So just keep watching our content. If you want more good content, head over to our YouTube channel, head to our socials, head to Spotify to find it. Monday, YouTube, you're going to get brand new Pokemon card pack openings. It's all in short form there. Now, as we're seeing a lot more success, and that seems to be the way you, the viewer, wants to see that in action. Tuesday, it's the ONETA Show, which we're doing the flagship podcast, rotating topics of whatever we talk about, whatever we want to really talk about. Just had a couple good crossover episodes with the new ONETA movie show, which I'll talk about in a second. We're going to have a football crossover show eventually down the road when we're getting towards the first week of the season. We're going to have another crossover there. However, the ONETA Show, a lot of good topics, movies, gaming, entertainment, politics, whatever the hell we want to talk about, it's all there on the ONETA Show on Tuesday, and that's available on YouTube and Spotify. Wednesday, it's the Pokemon Bliss and Oblivion Project. You're going to see a lot of cool new artwork, a lot of new ways to develop that franchise. It's really fun over at Pokemon Bliss and Oblivion Project on Wednesdays. You can check that out on YouTube, and you can see that on our socials a little bit as well through some art process. Thursday, you're already here, you already know it, you already love it. It's the ONETA Football Show. Every single Thursday, you're going to get a new show. And it is lots and lots and lots of fun to see football fans connect over the show. Very fun. Friday, it's the rotational show. You got the ONETA Adventure Show. Last episode was about the Grand Canyon, which we did that about 2 weeks ago now. Maybe 2 weeks ago. The ONETA Brick Builder Show. There's going to be a new episode of that next week. Brand new Lego set. A lot of fun things to do on that one. Or you might get a Pokemon card pack opening. You got to get a Yu-Gi-Oh card pack opening. You may even get yourself something even cooler. Specialty project. And as I already said, Saturday, because now we are not Monday through Friday. We are Monday through Saturday now is the brand new ONETA movie show. Had a lot of fun episodes over there now. We've covered a lot of movies. And we started that over on the ONETA Show. We just made it into a new show. So there's a lot of good episodes, a lot of good content there. So if you're a movie fan, go watch it or listen to it on Spotify. But no matter what you do, how you support us, we appreciate it. We appreciate you watching this show. Next time, we're going to be starting the NFL expansion series, which is going to be anywhere from a 2 to 3 or 4 part series, which is going to be really fun for myself and participants of the show to really get into. What would happen if the NFL expands? What could happen? What do I believe should happen? It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about that, so look for that in the next episodes. I will also be out of my home for the vast majority of August, so we're going to be doing this big project as well. But if any time there's a big news item, if I can, I'll get something up. However, go check out all that stuff because it's really fun and really cool. But yeah, go do that. Fun. Cool. Check out the rest of the show. Support us any way you possibly can. Give us a like, give us a comment, get us subscribe. Let us know how you feel about anything that we're doing here. Go check us on our socials. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Get in the comments. See some cool new things. Check out our Etsy shop, ptecreative.etsy.com. More importantly, get ready for football season. We're almost a week away from the Hall of Fame game, which even though it's never that great of a game, it's fun to see a football get snapped with professional players. So we're getting closer and closer, fans. We're getting there. About 6 weeks away from the season. I think. Do my math correctly. But whatever. We're almost there. So keep listening for great stuff, and we're going to get to football season together. Go have some fun. Enjoy your day. Peace, love, and hugs. Bye!